What up, people? It's your boy Master Chudy out with another review. So today was a big day in the comic hall. Well, not for me, but there were just a lot of big titles out, and unfortunately, Mr. Miracle and Titans were sold out when I came in, so I couldn't get my hands on them. But I did manage to get my hands on the last copy of Red Hood and the Outlaws. This has been a very good run. One of my favorites, I think, in the DC Rebirth. Issues that have been coming out. And I'm very hyped about it. I really enjoyed this. First of all, the cover is, pretty nice, I'd have to say. Very reminiscent of the old-time classics of, the dialogue already in there. We see that stand down outlaws. Only Lex Luthor can save Bizarro. And, like I said about this particular run, the Red Hood and the Outlaws, I've enjoyed the team dynamic between Bizarro, Artemis, and Jason, Red Hood. It's very familiar. It's like their teamwork is very great. Their cooperation between each other is fantastic. It's just a very solid story. Okay, so let's get into it. So we see the life of Bizarro Part 2. In the last issue, Bizarro seemingly died after having a horrific battle with Solomon Grundy. So we see this narration between Bizarro talking about, it's like, me, I'm Bizarro. This I'm my story. Like all stories, this one starts. And then we see the pseudo planted memories of him being like Superman, the ship and everything like that. But it's interesting enough that along with what is supposed to be Clark's parents, we also see what's supposed to be Supergirl and Crypto. But this is not his memories. So it's funny that we see that the whole thing, they send him off, and he says Bizarro's first family was weird, even by Bizarro's standards, which is funny. But this is all of him, just think about it. So he talks about how he's been moving from place to place, and then he landed, just like met his second family and everything like that. And then we see that he's had his memories with the Justice League, and it's funny that the only name that he got right was Batman, because he calls Green Lantern Nightlight, Aquaman Wet Wet, Flash Go-Go, Wonder Woman Rope Lady, and then Cyborg as an S-I-G-H, Psy. And it's like, we were just us, but we were happy. But we're happy. So we see he's always wanted this life, but we get back to what really happened, that he's but he says, wait, those are not Bizarro's memories. Not really. Bizarro's memories started in a different place. Here, in the womb, where God said Bizarro would die, and God referring to Lex Luthor. And we see that I have brooked enough failure on this project. I want it destroyed, all of them. So basically, what's interesting is that the current Bizarro was kidnapped by Black Mask, and apparently he was the last of the Bizarros by Lex Luthor, because Lex Luthor had destroyed all the other Bizarro copies. It's like Bizarro the failure, God said. So meanwhile, we're in Metropolis at LexCorp Tower. So we see Red Hood and Artemis just, talking about, because they gave Bizarro to Lex. So we see that, did we make the right choice? Putting all of our trust in a lunatic like Lex Luthor, letting him experiment on Bizarro. Seriously, what the hell is he doing in there? And, Jason is really going to attach to Bizarro. And then we see, the same as Artemis, but she's being a little bit more practical. And she's saying, you're kidding yourself, Jason. We had no choice at all. He created Bizarro. If anyone can save him, it's the world's preeminent mad scientist. And Jason's like, you sound like a fan. And she's like, not at all. But Bizarro is a clone based on Kryptonian DNA. My understanding is Luthor made the study of all things Krypton his life's work. And Jason's like, that's fair. Let's just hope his recent walk with the angels is legit. And as you can see, we see that Lex in Super Sons and in the Action Comics and in the Superman comics, that he's been parading as a new hero, that he's another Superman, and he has the suit and everything like that. So it seems that he has turned a new leaf, much like Deathstroke, as so we see. And Jason's like, that's fair. Let's hope his recent walk with the angels is legit. Just because Batman seems to trust him doesn't mean I have to. Just have to know. So we see Lex come out, and he says, "Nice talk. The truth is, this thing you call Bizarro is wholly owned and trademark property of LexCorp. You know, classic, businessman, jerkish Lex Luthor. All that was stolen by the Black Mask, facilitated by the both of you, and used by you in a blatant violation of international IP and copyright law." And we see that Jason doesn't take kindly to him dehumanizing Bizarro, basically saying, "Call him a thing again and see what happens, Luthor." And we see Artemis holding it back, saying, "Red Hood, nothing he said is incorrect. Let's hear what the man has to say." It's like, and it's like, "Yes, well, this man can clearly see," as in this man in quotes, meaning his god complex is still crazy. It's like, "Yes, well, this man can see that two of you have clearly bonded with Bizarro. You'll be glad to know I got his heart beating again. At this point, there is only a 0.37% chance I can save him. For anyone else, it'd be impossible. For me, it's a Tuesday, so even though he's a good guy, as he claims to be, or as people think he is, he's still quite the arrogant Luthor that we know." And Jason's like, "Can we see him?" "Soon, I'm certain. Until then, we'll leave it to the lawyers to settle the matter of ownership after I've pulled off yet another miracle." Still very arrogant. But, this is what makes Luthor Luthor, and it's cool. So we see real good talking between Jason and Artemis, and the artwork here is fantastic, very fantastic. She's looking very majestic, and Jason is looking very badassery stoic. So we see that he's basically, Jason's blaming himself, like, "This is my fault. Bizarro's been pushing himself from day one, trying to make me happy, flying across the Atlantic, beating up a mountain, taking on a killer in the outer orbit before, beating down Solomon Grundy when he should have been home resting. It was too much for his unstable body." And we see Artemis saying, "He is not a pet, Jason. You can't command him to sit and stay and heal." It's like, he is his own person. He wants to help. And neither you nor I, nor anyone else on planet Earth are in a position to tell him otherwise. And Jason's like, "Yeah, he can be a little stubborn. He gets that from your side of the family." And she's like, she's like, "Don't even." And it's like, "Poor kid. I can't imagine what runs through that bizarre brain pan of his at a time like this." So we get what I think is a very good blend of colors, and it just displays like the imagery that Bizarro is seeing at this young mind, or his infantile state, basically. Also at the same time as being operated on. And he's like, "Me didn't die like God said. Me sat in amniotic fluid and just thought and thought and thought more." Sometimes Bizarro thought inside to his cells. Sometimes Bizarro reached his ears and eyes and the stars and farther. So many thoughts. Honest, Bizarro almost went crazy with so many thoughts. So, even though Bizarro is seen as a simplistic person, he's becoming very complicated. Really, I like this splash page. It's just like the guy had fun with it, and it looks very beautiful. The artwork in this one is very nice. It's like, me will tell you a secret. Me often wonder, and Bizarro bizarre because me was born that way, or would me be normal if never spent so much time trapped in the womb? He's like, if he had, so basically he's like, if I had time to free myself, if I had time to go out, I'd be nice, I'd be better, I could be smarter. It's like, no, me remember no air, no air and bad, even for Bizarro. Me remember panic. Me remember fear, then him. Do not know what red was yet, but it most beautiful thing Bizarro had ever seen. First thing Bizarro ever saw with his own eyes. First reach, first touch, first words spoken to Bizarro. It's like, "It'll be okay, big guy, trust me." And we see that he's treating him almost like a father figure, like, "This is my father," and I felt safe with him. And then we see more good dialogue between Artemis and Jason. And Jason's talking about his past, saying that, "I've been an orphan as long as I can remember. Before that, I was an only child. Guess that's something the three of us have in common. And Artemis is like, but you have your mentor, Batman. You have your brothers in arms. And he's like, not really. I screwed up anything I could have had with him a long time ago. Yes, referring to, his attitude, basically. Whatever is left, it's not family. Not for me. Not in a way that matters. I feel closer to that big lump of clay than, well, any guy I've ever known. Yeah, I knew Roy and Dick since I was young. Since I've been back from the dead, he's the first guy friend I've made. So it's really like, it really shows that he values his friendship with, this lovable guy. Whereas Double D from Ed and Ed used to say lovable oaf to Ed. And he's like, is that crazy? He's like, no, not at all, Jason. You just see that they're just enjoying their company. Artemis and Jason. It's like, not at all. A very famous writer from Man's World, your Eli Weasel, once said, anytime two people meet, it's a miracle. And Jason's like, so what happens when three people meet? Then we see more Bizarro exposition, talking about someone tried to make Bizarro into Superman. Me knew was never Superman, but did not know who Am was besides a word until her. And so we see that Artemis taught him alphabets and everything like that. And he's like, C, said good, D. She let Bizarro know he was not alone, not real alone, not anymore. She could leave, but she did not. She taught letters into words let thoughts out of Bizarro's head at last. We never saw her with eyes yet, but with Bizarro's heart. It's like, what do you like? What do I look like? That's trying to explain that's just like trying to explain the sun to a blind man. Do you see the color of the man's cape? You call red. Yes, I kind of look like that. So, he's like, my whole life was built around becoming something, a Shimtar, the protector of my people. A name other people call you, like Wonder Woman or Superman. All that time I spent trying to be something was time spent not being someone. Beautiful stuff. And we see her memories with Bizarro just playing in a fountain. It's very, very nice. But Bizarro, being with him, I've learned to be in the moment, to be me. And, very nice stuff. It's like the only three people I've let into my heart, Jason. I can't lose him so soon after losing her, and, she's talking about her sister that got corrupted. Everything like that. And so, it's like the only guarantee we have in life is that nothing good lasts forever. We mourn and move on. If Bizarro stops, we see Bizarro exposition, Bizarro stops, me will miss them. It's like, that's not going to happen today, I promise. And it's like, what a painfully absurd promise to make. It's like, now about that third person you let to your heart. Does his name rhyme with race and rod? And he's like, Jason. It's like, oh my goodness, what an ego. So it's clear these two care about each other, and I just like that. It's like, but they'll be okay, Bizarro. So it's been nice. We got a nice metal cover. So it's like, we see that Lex Luthor's with his doctors. Basically, it's like, just like you theorize, sir. And Lex is like, I don't theorize anything. He's like, you know who you're talking to. Everything I say is right. And, classic Lex. It's like, yes, sorry. As you definitely posited, the clone's body has had a counterintuitive reaction to the kryptonite ray at a micronic dosage. As impossible as it seems, kryptonite is healing the subject. And Lex is like, clear the room. It's like, but sir, he's like, really? He's like, yes, of course. Right away, Mr. Luthor. And then we see Lex is like, Bizarro, do you remember me? And we see that this was an old Bizarro, basically. Apparently this Bizarro is not the original Bizarro that people know. And we see Lex is like, no, you're not him. Kryptonite injected into Superman's veins would have killed that alien instantly, but you're the genetic opposite of him. So this should save your life instead. There's nothing I could do to help my friend. He was murdered before he was in the deteriorative state you are now. You're going to get the chance he never had. Don't screw it up. And we see that he injects him with kryptonite. Jack Kirby. So we see later, like, you're not smiling. It must be bad news. Actually, this is me smiling. Typical. I just love how they've written Luthor in this one. It's like, your friend is going to be fine after a brief period of adjustment. And Jason's like, that sounds unnecessarily cryptic. Not at all. It'll all become self-evident when you see him. Bizarro is of no longer any use of me. I've had my lawyers draw up the papers giving you total custody. And he's like, out of the kindness of your heart, I suppose. That's what Jason's like. Nothing I do is out of the kindness of my heart. He's like, basically saying, I'm a practical man. Classic Luthor. And Jason thanks Mr. Luthor. And Jason still doesn't trust him, saying as if that won't come back to bite us on the ass someday. It's like, we'll deal with it. Today, I'm just glad Bizarro's back. And you see Bizarro whistling. And we see Jason, looking good. It's like, hey, big guy, how you doing? And bum, we see Jason, Artemis. What an absolute pleasure to see you again, my compatriots. While I am grateful for Lex's efforts on my behalf, I feel totally at ease saying I look forward to returning to our collective domicile. And we get this hilarious thing saying, whoa, did you see that? Seriously? I need a minute. And we see Shawi and we see Artemis shocked and Jason's like, and it's funny, we see, this looks like a classic thing that I think you would see in like the 80s or so. Like, okay, be here next issue when Red Hood and the Outlaws becomes Bizarro and the Outlaws. It seems they've learned to stop putting this out in the middle of the comics. Nice. This was a fantastic book. The action, while devolved, really went into the character in-depths of all the Outlaws. We got to know more about Bizarro and his feelings. We got to know more about Jason and his feelings, and Artemis and their feelings, and how they're, as a trio, is very good. I would dare say they probably, even though I haven't touched it, I would dare say they have more characterization and sympathy and connection than the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. So, anyway, unfortunately, like I said, I couldn't get Titans or Mr. Miracle, but I do have one more comic that I'll probably review tomorrow, the latest Flash. Once again, I want to thank you all for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification so you can be notified of whenever I review these comics. Once again, I review these for you, the people, so that you can understand and enjoy and get my point of view of these comics. Once again, thank you guys, and have a nice day.